For more than 200 years, readers have fallen in love with Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. This story has inspired countless books, films, and television adaptations. At first glance, it seems like a timeless romance novel, but Pride and Prejudice is about much more than romance. In this video, we are going to discuss about how realistic the romance is in Pride and Prejudice by the standards of Regency society. We will do it by analyzing 4 couples. First, we will look at the main couple, Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy. Then we will discuss Jane Bennet and Mr. Bingley, Lydia Bennet and George Wickham, and finally, Charlotte Lucas and Mr. Collins. Before we start, if you are interested in more videos like this, please like this video, subscribe, and comment who is your favorite couple in Pride and Prejudice. Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy's story does not begin with love at first sight. It begins with mutual dislike. At the Meryton Assembly, Darcy refuses to dance with Elizabeth and dismisses her as not handsome enough to tempt me. Elizabeth overhears the insult and immediately decides he is proud and arrogant. Darcy, meanwhile, looks down on Elizabeth's family because of their lack of wealth, poor connections, and the embarrassing behavior of some of her relatives. Both judge each other too quickly, allowing Pride and Prejudice to shape their opinions. As the story progresses, their relationship develops through misunderstandings, wounded pride, and growing respect rather than instant attraction. Darcy gradually admires Elizabeth's intelligence and independence, while Elizabeth slowly realizes that there is much more to his character than she first believed. This slow development feels remarkably realistic. The biggest test comes with Darcy's first proposal. Although he declares his love, he also admits that he struggled against Elizabeth's inferior family connections and lower social standing. Today, this sounds deeply insulting, but for a wealthy gentleman in Regency England, these concerns were completely normal. Marriage was closely tied to wealth, family reputation, and social status. Darcy's mistake was not having these thoughts. It was expressing them while asking Elizabeth to marry him. Elizabeth's rejection is equally realistic. She refuses to marry a man she believes is proud and disrespectful, no matter how wealthy he is. But what happens next is where Austen begins to blend realism with romance. Would a gentleman as wealthy and important as Darcy really return after being rejected? In most cases, probably not. Regency gentlemen placed great importance on pride and honor, and a direct rejection would usually end a courtship. Most men in Darcy's position would likely have moved on and married a woman with greater wealth and stronger family connections. However, Austen makes Darcy an exception. Instead of giving up or becoming bitter, he reflects on Elizabeth's criticism and changes his behavior. He waits several months before proposing again, and only does so after believing her feelings may have changed. Rather than chasing her relentlessly, he earns her respect through his actions. By the time of the second proposal, both characters have grown. Darcy has become humbler, while Elizabeth recognizes that her own first impressions were unfair. Their second engagement is built on mutual respect instead of wounded pride. So, how realistic is Elizabeth and Darcy's romance? It is both realistic and idealized. Their misunderstandings, the importance of class, and the obstacles they face are all true to Regency society. But Darcy's willingness to overcome his pride, reject social expectations, and propose again after such a painful refusal was far less common. Jane Austen grounds their love story in reality, but gives it an unusually hopeful ending. Their marriage was possible, but it would have been the exception rather than the rule. Now, let's talk about Jane Bennet and Mr. Bingley. At first, they seem like the simplest and most traditional romantic couple in Pride and Prejudice. They are attracted to each other almost immediately, they enjoy each other's company, and neither has the pride or sharp disagreements that complicate other relationships. Their romance seems destined for a happy ending. But Regency society makes things much more complicated. Although Bingley clearly loves Jane, he's easily influenced by the opinions of those around him. Darcy and Bingley's sisters convince him that Jane's feelings are not as strong as his own and remind him that the Bennet family lacks wealth, powerful connections, and proper social refinement. Rather than trusting his own judgment, Bingley leaves Netherfield and ends the courtship. This was actually very realistic. Wealthy young gentlemen were often expected to consider far more than love when choosing a wife. Families and close friends frequently gave advice, especially if they believed a marriage might damage a man's social standing or future prospects. Bingley's willingness to listen to them may seem frustrating, but it reflects the reality of Regency marriage. The biggest obstacle comes later when Lydia Bennet runs away with George Wickham. In Regency England, this was not simply a private family embarrassment, it was a public scandal. A daughter's elopement could damage the reputation of her entire family. Respectable families might hesitate to associate with them, and the marriage prospects of sisters could be seriously affected. This makes Bingley's return much more surprising. After such a scandal, many gentlemen would have considered the Bennet family too controversial to marry into. Even if Bingley still loved Jane, social pressure could easily have persuaded him to stay away permanently. However, Bingley is also portrayed as kind-hearted and genuinely devoted to Jane. Once he learns that her feelings were sincere, he chooses to value her character over her family's mistakes. While such a marriage was certainly possible, it became much less likely after Lydia's elopement. So, how realistic is Jane and Bingley's romance? Their early courtship and separation are highly realistic and reflect the influence of family, reputation, and social status in Regency England. Their eventual reunion is believable, but after Lydia's elopement, it becomes a more optimistic ending than most families in similar circumstances could have expected. By Regency standards, their happy ending falls somewhere between probable and unlikely, possible but certainly fortunate. Now let's talk about the novel's most reckless relationship, Lydia Bennet and George Wickham. Unlike the other couples, their relationship is built almost entirely on attraction and excitement. Lydia is young, impulsive, and loves attention, while Wickham is charming, handsome, and skilled at saying exactly what people want to hear. Neither thinks seriously about the future. They chase excitement instead of considering whether they are actually compatible. This was far from unusual in the Regency era. Marriages based on physical attraction alone often turned out badly, especially when neither partner was financially responsible or emotionally mature. In Wickham's case, his gambling, debts, and selfish nature make it clear that the excitement of the romance is unlikely to last. Austen suggests that once the thrill disappears, the marriage will be filled with financial problems and disappointment. In that sense, Lydia and Wickham's relationship is painfully realistic. At the opposite end of the spectrum is Charlotte Lucas and Mr. Collins. Charlotte knows she does not love Mr. Collins. She also understands that he is pompous, boring, and unlikely to become a better husband, yet she accepts his proposal anyway. To modern readers, this can seem shocking, but for many women in Regency England, it was a perfectly rational decision. Unmarried women had very few opportunities to support themselves. Without a husband, many depended on their parents or other relatives for financial security. As they grew older, their chances of making a good marriage became smaller. Charlotte is 27, an age considered relatively old for an unmarried woman at the time, and she has little fortune of her own. She chooses security over romance because she believes a comfortable home and financial stability are more important than waiting for a love match that may never come. Ironically, Charlotte's marriage may be the most realistic in the entire novel. While readers naturally prefer passionate romances, many real Regency marriages were based on practical concerns rather than love. Charlotte knows exactly what she is sacrificing, and she makes that choice with clear eyes. So, how realistic is the romance in Pride and Prejudice? The answer is complicated. Austen doesn't present one perfect model of love. Instead, she explores marriages built on passion, convenience, social ambition, financial necessity, and genuine affection. Some endings are more hopeful than the average Regency marriage, but the problems each couple faces are deeply rooted in the realities of the time. Let me know about your opinion in the comment section. Thank you for watching.